What's going on YouTube? Matt from GarageMC here. In today's video, guys, we're going to work on the 450R. We got to get this thing done so we can get to the other things we got planned. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to put the new Pivot Works steering stem bushing kit in. And we're also going to install that new Alba +2 chromoly steering stem. Stay tuned. Alright guys, first things first. You know how we roll around here. We're going to do a little unboxing of this. This is for the 450R or 450ER. It's a steering stem bearing and bushing kit by Pivot Works. Who wants to bet if it comes with a sticker? I think it does. Everything usually does. All right, let's unbox this thing. Enough being corny. Oh, what do you know? Comes with a sticker. Go ahead and add that to the pile. We have our seals. Top and bottom. Comes with its own grease. I usually use Maxima waterproof grease. This here. We'll go ahead and add this to the extra parts pile. You never know when you might need it. It comes with the bushing that goes up top. The one that is on this quad is a little dried out and a little brittle. So this will definitely improve steering feel. Something that's nice and new, and it's got some pliability to it. You get the bushing that goes underneath the bottom of the steering stem, and obviously you get the new steering bearing. So these here, guys, you don't typically need to freeze these to make them smaller to get them in. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. It depends. But let's go ahead and go over to the quad. Actually, let me show you guys the steering stem real quick. So this is our new Alba steering stem. It's got grease on it already because oh, great. I'm going to have this all over me now. I already had this in the quad because I completely forgot that I even ordered the steering stem bearing and bushing kit. But this is from Alba. It's +2 higher chromoly steering stem, and we also have the Alba Team Alba Racing bar riser clamps as well. So we're going to be getting this installed today. First things first, let's go over to the quad and we'll get the old seals and bearing out of the frame, and we'll get rid of this old crusty rock hard bushing that goes up at the top off of this after I already packed it full of waterproof grease and got it everywhere. So before we put the new stuff in, guys, we got to get the old stuff out. I usually use a pick like this. You could use a flathead screwdriver or whatever. This obviously has some paint on it from doing the touch-ups on the frame. As you can see, we've got about $3 worth of waterproof grease here. Because that stuff is not as cheap as regular grease. So this will be on eBay for sale, 20 bucks. First come, first serve. It'll be in the grass where I just throw it, where it'll get sucked up in the lawnmower. That'll be good. At least the blades will be nice and greased. Alright, so in here, guys, we got a ton of buildup. You guys can see this in here. Got a ton of buildup in here. Look at the rest of this grease. So there is a locking clip or circlip in here that we got to get to. I usually like to try and clean this out really good first, but let me get my circlip remover or installer remover, whatever you want to call it, and we'll get the circlip out. I'll show you guys what that looks like, and then we will get our get a tool out to push the bearing out from the bottom up, and then we'll clean this out and get it prepped up and ready for the new stuff. So now, after we got the bearing seal from the top of where the steering stem goes into the frame, we got to go underneath and get the lower grease seal that goes underneath the frame as well. This one's a little bit of a bear, so come check this one out. Usually just... come here. Come on, guys. I can't do everything here. What the hell? Alright. So, underneath the quad, if I can get you a good angle here, there's also this bearing seal up in here. Obviously, you can't use it after you take it out, so it doesn't really matter what you do to get it out, but usually just get something in the edge of it, fold it over on itself, and then pull it out. And you can see whoever put this one in before. I usually pack the inner lip of these seals with grease before I put them in the quad, so that's definitely what we'll be doing here. This is where packing these areas and the grease seals come like into play. It's packed full of like dirt and rust and all kinds of stuff. So when you're removing a circlip, you definitely got to make sure that you have the 2 holes that are on the circlip like cleaned out so you can get a good bite on it. These are circlip removing tools. In this case here, taking this one out, this is an inner style one, so we got to squeeze the ring together, because like right now it's like this. We squeeze it together, it'll, you know, close the diameter size of the circlip, and then we could pull it out of this boss here where the steering stem goes into. These are the tools. You know, this one does both. You can have it like this, where it's closing the circumference of the circlip, or you could flip the lever and it will open it if you have one that was like around something that was in the groove, that you could spread it open to pull off. But this one, like I said, is an inner one. I got it as clean as I could to get these in there. Usually I'll take my pick as well and stick it in the hole of the circlip and just break it free a little bit. But sometimes this is a little bit of a pain in the ass, as you can see. Alright, so there's the circlip. This thing was packed full of dirt. Those are the 2 holes I'm talking about. This is where your circlip tool goes into these, and I'm sure most of you guys know how this works, but maybe there's some people that don't. And this squeezes it close, so it closes the diameter of it so you can pull it out of here. But before we even get into trying to push this bearing out of the frame here, it's not going to work too good with all this dirt and rust and stuff that's caked up in there, guys. So I can't even begin to tell you how much I use these things. I buy them literally by the hundreds, stainless steel or brass like this. I'll get you guys a view of what I'm doing here. It's pretty self-explanatory. Just getting in here and cleaning all this stuff, giving ourselves a nice clean surface to be able to get this to slide out with any obstructions. Get the circlip groove all cleaned out. We'll clean out a little better once we get this bearing out. This is just breaking up all the buildup and everything that was in there. Guys, this sometimes is a pain in the ass to do, but like I just said before, cleaning out that area there where it goes definitely helps. My bearing installing / removing tool wouldn't fit in the hole down there, so I just have this socket I'm using is a 15/16, and I have it on an extension. You just go from underneath here, start whacking away till it comes out. Alrighty, so there is our old bearing that was in there. You can see where the socket was pushing that in there. Ideally, if you are installing something, you want to get a socket that is the same size as the outer race of the bearing. You don't want to bang on the center race, or like I just did on the seal to the bearing itself. But this one was actually in good shape, but you guys know how I am. I'm not going to put new stuff in a quad when it's already apart, and I could just simply put new stuff in. This is the OEM bearing. It still has the Japan markings on it from Honda, so it's about time anyway. 15-year-old quad. We put in our new bearing. I'm going to use anti-seize, guys. I always like to anti-seize the outside of the bearing race and also the boss on the frame. This is also another tool I just got. Actually just picked this up yesterday. This is the exact proper size to push this bearing in there without damaging the bearing at all. If you don't have one of these, get a socket that will go up against the outer race of this bearing here. You don't want to damage the seal, and you definitely do not want to push it from the inner race either. You want to get on the outside of it. Like I said, if you have a socket, do it that way. But I think this tool was like $36 or something like that, plus tax. It came with a bunch of different sizes. You can either use it this flat way to push in a bearing, or if you take the bolt off the bottom, you can flip it around and put in like a tapered bearing race, like in the neck of a dirt bike or a street bike. Also comes in all those sizes as well. Here's the sizes that this tool comes in if you guys want to pause and take a look at it. The one we're using is 1.565 inches. So that would be the size for this. But like I said, you really don't absolutely need it. I don't know. I'm weird when it comes to tools, guys. I like to have all the proper stuff. You'd be amazed at how much easier stuff is to put in when you have the right tools. Let's get the area where the new bearing goes anti-seized. This is Permatex anti-seize. You guys can get this Home Depot, parts store, order it online. Use this stuff on pretty much everything, guys, when it comes to putting stuff on the quad together. Especially one of the next videos we're going to be getting into when we start putting our stainless steel hardware kit on the engine. You guys definitely want to use anti-seize when you're putting stainless steel into aluminum. Otherwise it could gall and possibly, well, seize up into the engine threads, the aluminum threads. So I usually put more than is needed. Whatever it doesn't need, it's going to push out anyway. Alright, we're also going to put some anti-seize on the outer race as well. Just a nice even coat all the way around is plenty. You do want to take your time with this and get it squared up and going in straight. Alright, so I have the bearing. Obviously, after it's anti-seized in there, I started pushing it in a little bit so we can get a decent view of what's going on here. And once it's nice and straight, guys, it should go in pretty easy. And if you pay attention, you can hear the sound that it's making when I'm tapping it. It's still going in. When it bottoms out inside there, you'll hear the pitch of the hit change. That means it's bottomed out. If you guys were paying attention, if you heard that. A couple extra for good luck. Alright. So, let me show you guys how deep in that is. It's all the way seated when you get to where the line where the circlip goes. You guys see that little groove in there? So we are fully bottomed out. So the grease seals, or bearing seals, whatever you want to call them, grease seals. This is how they come from Pivot Works. You get, this is the larger one is for the top. The smaller one is for the bottom of the frame. The ones that we took out, they were bone dry. Probably part of the reason why it was so rusty and crusty in there. So, yes, Pivot Works, it comes with its own grease. You know, when you order an actual Pivot Works kit, any of those generic like $9 bearings that you see on eBay, it doesn't come with, you know, stuff like this. The Pivot Works kit is pretty comprehensive. Like I said, it comes with the upper bushing as well. We will get into that as soon as we start putting the steering stem in this video. So the Maxima waterproof grease, I usually just take a flathead, or you could put gloves on and then just pack it that way too. I usually just pack this lip, and I will put a little bit on the outside of it as well. You guys have seen me do stuff like this before. It's a little tedious and time consuming, but it is definitely worth doing. Trust me. So I'm going to do this to both of those. Just get it all nice and packed, and you can take the flathead and just cruise around the lip of it here. Just get that all nice and packed in there. This is just preventative maintenance, guys. That's all this is. Like I've said in other videos, putting something together and doing work like this, it's a better feeling when you know you took the extra steps and did it the best way that you possibly can. At least for me it is. You know, like I said before, I like taking care of my stuff. I have quite a few quads. If you're just finding my channel for the first time, we do have well over 100 uploads now. Channel is growing. Thank you to all my new subscribers, all my old subscribers, and my regular viewers. We've got plenty of content coming your way. Alright, so let me get this packed and the other one packed, and then we'll go put these in the quad as well. Before we put our grease seals in now, before we forget, let's reinstall the circlip. Now, the circlip that came out of there was all rusty and disgusting and coated and stuff, so, you know, I'm a little weird when it comes to stuff, guys, so I completely stripped this down and then recoated it with, I use this flat black barbecue grill paint. Just a very thin layer of it is really all you need. So we'll take our tool that we took it out with, this one here. We'll go ahead and get all up in there. Get the tool in the holes of the circlip. And we'll get it started to go in. Alright. So we're in the groove. As you can see, it goes in a lot easier than when it came out. And you want to push down. Oh, there we go. I don't know if you guys heard that little click. That means it was all the way in. You want to make sure it is all the way in the groove. You don't want to leave it up a little bit. This is actually what holds your steering stem into the quad. If this wasn't there and you just bolted the steering stem at the bottom, so you're like pulling up and down on your handlebars a lot, you would eventually rip this out of the frame. So that circlip is very important. Do not forget that, like I almost just did. Also going to put grease all in here as well. All right, guys, let's get our top bearing grease seal installed in the quad. I'm going to use the tool that I use to push the bearing in, but I went to the neck size up because when you put your bearing, the grease seal in, you want it to be level with this, the lip of the top of the boss where the steering stem goes into. You don't want to seat it all the way down. This lip here is what goes around the larger part of the steering stem. Also, this is all greased up too because you don't want to roll that lip when you put the steering stem in. So going to the next size up, it's going to stop me right at the top of it here. Alright guys, so that's really all there is to changing your steering stem bearings and bushing. I'm going to go ahead and put the Alba steering stem in now, so if you guys would like to see that go in, stick around. We're going to do that real quick, but if you just clicked on this video to see how to replace the steering stem bearing and bushings, there it is. We have other videos doing little upkeep and maintenance stuff like this. I usually title them All the Little Things. Really starting to get quite a amassed amount of videos together, so I will start putting playlists together. One of them will be all the little things like steering stem bushings, Wiseco forged clutch basket, linkage bearings. We're about to do the swing arm bearings in this 450R. I got the swing arm on the ground. Axle nut is really giving me a hard time, but we got a new anti-fade coming on the way, so that's going to be gone anyway, so I might just cut it off because it's driving me nuts. And I really did myself a good, you know, service taking it off the quad and then trying to get the axle nut off. Something would have been a lot easier while it was on the quad. But check out the other videos, guys. All right, let me set these up on the tripod and we will slap in the new +2 Alba steering stem chromoly with the bar riser clamps that don't need to be on for this particular procedure, but I'm impatient. Get our steering stem in. Just give you guys a little sneak peek. You guys know, I don't know if you've been following the build, but we got the 4Works carbon fiber hood. I had gotten an extra set of shrouds, and I just wrapped these just to get a feel of how it would look. And the weave matches up and everything. I think it's going to look cool. If it doesn't, obviously we still have the stock white ones. These are in black, so if you look on the inside, it obviously looks like it belongs. So it's not like they're white on the inside. I also have a red set. If I don't like the vinyl, I'm going to make a set out of real carbon fiber. I got those to make a mold from. So let's get our steering stem out. Let me move this out of the way. If it will let me. There we go. All right, so the steering stem. What we have is the Alba +2 chromoly steering stem for this quad. The bushing from Pivot Works up here. Once I know where it's going to sit on the steering stem itself, I'll grease the inside and this, and I'll also grease where this goes into and the bracket that holds it into place. So down here, where the steering stem is going to go into the frame, you want to grease up the grease seal on the outside as well, because you don't want this inner lip to roll when you insert the steering stem into it. You want that to be lubed up so it doesn't stick. So now that everything is all nice and greased up, we can go ahead and line this up, get this slid into place. I also have grease on the lower part of the steering stem where it goes through that bearing, because it sucks when these things get seized up. It really does. Let's just go ahead and spin it around a little bit. Get that seal seated on there. Up here, the bushing that goes around the steering stem, there's like a collar around this. That goes at the top of it. You don't want to put that underneath. So this is all nice and lubed up, like I said, with the Maxima waterproof grease, or you could use the stuff that comes with the Pivot Works kit. We also have our bracket. I got the grease on there. This goes on in this direction here. The bolts that you put in, you can either use some Loctite, or you could put anti-seize on them. I'm upgrading to these stainless steel Allen head bolts. I just get them started so it holds the bracket there. And I will show you guys what I'm talking about with this lip that's at the top of this bushing. See how that little lip there, that, like I said, goes up towards the top. Once you have the steering stem poked out the bottom here, this also comes in the Pivot Works kit. There's this a bushing, like a metal bushing, that goes around the steering stem. You can either, I've got plenty of grease and anti-seize mixed together in here, but you want to anti-seize this too, so next time you go to take it off, it's not seized on there. So this goes on first, and this is also another thing that you have to get rolled into the lower grease seal. And being we have plenty of grease on there, it's sticking up there on its own. The nut that came off the bottom is usually a castle nut, and then you use a cotter pin to hold it in. I took the nut that was off of the old one and sandblasted it and recoated it with that same paint that I coated the circlip with. I usually don't use a cotter pin here, guys. I usually just put a little bit of Loctite inside the threads of the nut, just to keep it from, obviously, backing off. As far as torque specs go, guys, I usually just do these by feel. If I find the proper torque spec in the manual for this, I will edit it in over the video here so you guys can see. If you're curious, I'll give you the torque specs for this nut and the bolts that hold the upper bracket in. Alright guys, so that's the video. We put in our new Pivot Works bearings and bushing kit for the steering stem, and we put in that plus 2 chromoly steering stem from Team Alba Racing. Other stuff that's going to be going on this quad in the very near future, as in this week. I got to do the A-arms. I'm going to rebuild the swing arm bearings as well, which I have those here, so that'll be another video coming to you this week. If you guys don't know, I read and answer every one of my comments, and we've also been doing live streams lately. It's called Quad Talk Live, so if you haven't yet, smash the subscribe button, throw me a thumbs up, and turn your notifications on, guys, because when we do the live streams, it's called Quad Talk Live. We've done a couple giveaways, you know, just simple parts, stuff like that, but just something to show my appreciation to you guys and for attending a live stream. I do ask questions that you would know the answer to if you've seen previous videos. So be sure to study up and know them answers, guys. Giving away quite a few things already. So I'll see you guys in the garage next time. Thank you for joining me here. 450R is on its way, guys. I got a lot of work to do. So with that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Peace.